The only thing in life that is constant is change. And I'm sure you've heard that before. But it's important to really think about an expression like this and really go deep within it, because when we think about change, when we think about life, when we think about life being movement, then we understand that movement is essentially change actually in action. And as we think about change, we often think about it as an experience, right? Something outside of ourselves, something we observe and witness. A lot of times, something we resist because we don't want change to happen, because our ego is so caught up in being attached to a particular thing. Our ego is really wanting to stay in a comfort zone. And this is why you often hear the best way to achieve fulfillment, happiness, and joy is to step out of that comfort zone. That comfort zone essentially represents death. It represents not moving. It represents inaction. And so, though you, yes, very well are still alive, the very essence of why you are alive, right, your nature of being alive is to manifest, to materialize things. In other words, to move, to change your perspectives, to change your thoughts, your beliefs, to change your reality. And when you are not pushing toward that objective, if you're not on that track to actually change the way you see things and the way you perceive things, then you are in fact essentially dying, right? Because you are living in this perpetual existence of not actually living up to your nature and moving with the intention of change. And now when we talk about change, I don't say that you are to change who you are, but in fact, what I am saying is that you are to change from who you think you are to who you really are. And that's what the spiritual journey is about. So as we think about change, think about it in terms of something that is happening from your own perspective. It's happening as a result of you living, existing. As you experience things from moment to moment, you are essentially changing. You are changing and unraveling or unfolding into who you really are. The journey of life isn't to change your existence, change your beingness, but it is to change from this fake existence, right? This false identity to the true identity of self. And it is through consciousness, it is by way of consciousness that we attempt to do that. And we actually do that. Now, the ego, on the other hand, is resistant to that. The ego wants to stay in one spot. The ego wants to be comfortable. It wants to be protected. It wants to be, held in a space where it doesn't have to face uncomfortable situations or differences and challenging itself to be quote unquote better, or to face certain things that may have been uncomfortable in the past and therefore not healed from, right? So you want to understand that change is very important, and it is imperative for you to actually seek that change. And it is through things like being non-attached is how you actually create a space where you can speed up this process of change. Most certainly not hold it back. Don't hesitate. Don't, retard the process, but in fact, let it go its natural course. It's like a river, right? You want that river to move rapidly, so that way it can actually get to the destination that you're meant to get to, right? And it is through gravity, right, which can be life itself, leading you toward this destination of understanding who you are. When you are resistant toward change and you are being led by the ego, then you are the river that is, jammed, right? There's a dam that prevents it from actually going its natural course. And thus, it is pooling in one place. It is not actually flowing. So it is actually getting more dirty over time, more corrupted over time, right? Not as pleasing, not as beautiful, because it isn't going its natural course. And so when you think about change, it is more of you thinking about change from an internal space, right? An internal understanding rather than an external one. When we think about change, we only think about it when it comes to external experiences, right? We don't want the relationship to change. We don't want, maybe our job to change, right? We don't want where we live to change. We don't want our health to change, right? We don't want to get older, things like that. Well, those things change anyway, but when you take responsibility over the perception of that change by simply changing your perception, right? That is not only allowing the change to happen, because it's going to happen anyway, but you are now actively participating and engaging in this change. So you are directing how the change actually happens. Rather than letting it happen to you, you are making it happen from you. So you have to recognize that it is important to look at laws of the universe, like change, right? Even law of attraction, manifestation. Observe these laws. Don't resist against them, but in fact, accept them and expedite the process by which they function through, so that way you can actually direct how it happens. This is the whole point of creating and transforming your reality. It is about accepting and understanding that you are living and existing in a space where you are aware, you are conscious, you are able to witness, observe, you are able to give input, insight, you are, able to, with your own ability to contemplate, think about what you observed, right? You can even manipulate and change what you are observing currently and what you will observe in the future based on your thought process. So recognize the power that you have. Don't just allow yourself to be placed or place yourself in a mindset of a victim, because these laws are so powerful that they exist regardless of whether you want them to or not. You simply have to go along with these laws, right? These principles. And that is how you take control over them and empower yourself to actually make them basically bend to your will, right? So be mindful that change is something that is inevitable, but forget about thinking about change on the outside. Focus on changing self. Focus on changing false self to true self. And when you do that, then the change is not something you feel is daunting or bitter or, a representation of the suffering, but is an opportunity for you to challenge and push yourself to be that version of yourself that you desire to be, right? Which is an actuality of who you truly are. And it is when you do this, when you understand how to embrace change within, then you truly embrace the path by which you are to come into the realization of self. Thank you so much. Feel free to go to drabundant.com, subscribe to my daily newsletter, and also get access to this free ebook, The Power Within. You will also be invited to my Manifestation Monday morning meetings every Monday morning at 7 a.m. So I look forward to seeing you there. Continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.